I am a hoarder. Or I would be a hoarder. I guess I was a hoarder. I would be a hoarder if I didn't have somebody helping me clean. My house is pretty clean and neat, and for the most part not well organized, but things are put away and tidied up, and that's only because I have somebody coming in who helps me with that, and they come in regularly enough that I don't get it that messed up between times. But if they weren't coming to help me, then my house would fall, as always, into disarray, and then into extreme disarray, severe disarray, to the point where I would look like a hoarder house, and would, I would definitely fit that definition. So I basically am a hoarder who is just, I haven't changed. It's interesting. I'm no different than I was. I just have somebody who's preventing the hoarding from happening. And there are two kinds of hoarding, but the kind I'm talking about is not the kind where they constantly bring new stuff in and neatly stack it up to the ceiling. I'm talking about the other kind of hoarder, which is the kind who can't get stuff out. They maybe don't bring stuff in all the time, but they can't get stuff out, and it's the much messier of the two. Like, they can't get garbage out, and they can't get, stuff just is littered all over their house. So that's the kind of hoarder I am, and would be now, or would appear to be, would be proven to be, if it weren't for the fact that I had somebody who comes in 3 times a week, and they do anything that needs to be done. And because they come in so frequently, there's not much that ever needs to be done. But left to me, and my incredible ability to just tune out my environment, everything falls into a state of entropy. And it always has. It always has with me. I'm not aware of my surroundings most of the time. If I get involved in something, I just tune out. I'm not, in a lot of ways, I'm not an observant person. However, the only way in which I am an observant person is when other people are around. I'm very observant in terms of perceiving their moods, or what I believe their moods are, and their thoughts and their feelings. I couldn't tell you what they were wearing, or whether they had a purse with them, or had on green shoes, or what their hair looked like. I don't notice those things. Drove my mother crazy, because she'd be like, "Did you see what that woman was wearing?" And I'm like, I have no idea if she was wearing anything at all. Although I suppose if she wasn't wearing anything at all, I might have noticed. But, not a guarantee. I notice what I feel. What I perceive on that level. I could tell you whether she was hostile, or whether the woman was threatening in any way, or whether she was possibly in a good mood. If I observed anything about her, it would be that. Otherwise, I might have just not even known she existed. We're walking through a store, I don't notice people or things. I don't know, I'm tuned out a lot. I'm just tuned out from everything a lot. So anyway, but hoarding. I've watched the show Hoarders and the show Hoarding Buried Alive, and I can definitely identify with people on those shows. I get very frustrated and very angry watching those shows, though, when I feel like the person, the hoarder themselves, they're very much on the spot, and they need help desperately. And, they bring the family in, and, of course, people behaving badly always makes for better TV. I don't personally like it. It frustrates me and angers me when I see somebody being humiliated or I see somebody being disrespected. And yeah, they have a problem. If they're hoarding, they have a problem. And a lot of times they can pinpoint what caused it, a death in the family or a divorce or some loss that makes you feel like you have to cling to objects. For me, I think it wasn't ever one thing, because mine started very young. I always was like that. But I think it was that I found comfort in the things around me because I didn't have comfort coming from the people around me. But I see that, like, Matt Paxton, and that guy really frustrates me sometimes, because sometimes he actually bullies the person who is, he doesn't always, but sometimes for some reason he bullies the hoarder, and it makes them feel worse about themselves. And I don't like anybody making people feel worse about themselves. People don't need to feel worse. Well, maybe there are a few people out there who need to feel worse about themselves because they feel so darn good about themselves and shouldn't. But, as a general rule, I don't respect people who make other people feel bad. I don't respect them when they do it to me, and I don't respect them when they do it to other people. So, and that guy frustrates me because he is not very professional a lot of times. And even some of the other professionals, I think they want a reaction. They want more of a reaction than they get from those people. The hoarders, when they're put on the spot, yeah, they're gonna behave, most of them, they're gonna act shut down because they're embarrassed, they're humiliated. And then people come into their home and they already know that their house is a mess. They don't need people coming in and going, oh my God, I've never seen anything this bad in my life. I'm so grossed out I think I'm gonna puke. Oh, this is the worst thing ever. They don't need you to do that. They don't need people to do that. They know. They already know. This is why they don't bring people home, because they don't want to have to be humiliated like that. It's a very humiliating thing. A lot of times I wouldn't let people come over because I was ashamed of my house. My brother won't let people come to his house because of the same reason. We both turned out to be hoarders. I don't know if he's the same type I was or the other type, but he still won't let people come over to his house. I don't know. I guess my thing is respect. People, they expect the hoarder to behave in a certain way, while they're there. And the family members pick, a lot of times, not always, but when the family members start yelling and screaming and carrying on, and I think some of them do it because they know they're on camera, and Hollywood has rewarded people who behave badly by giving them acting roles on shows like Big Brother and other reality shows, which are nothing but a bunch of people fighting constantly about stupid stuff that probably isn't even really happening. I mean, a lot of fights that it just teaches people how, it teaches people not to get along, and that the worse they act, the better. And I hate that. It's backwards. It's totally wrong. It's inside out and backwards. We should be, our role models, Hollywood should be full of role models. They're in the public eye. They should be good role models. They shouldn't be encouraging people to be disrespectful to each other and to just behave like a bunch of wild animals. But that's what they do. I know I'm being awfully judgmental. This is something that really drives me crazy. Hollywood is nothing but a huge sewer pipe pouring into our homes and spilling forth some of the worst, the absolute worst morals and the worst of behaviors. You know, we should not look to Hollywood for role models. Our children should not look to Hollywood for role models. And a lot of other places too, you know, I mean, but they do. They do. They look at the people who have the most money, who have the most fame, and those are their role models. And those are usually people, not always, but those are usually people who should be the last person to be considered a role model. Because they're so affected. And our society encourages that. With all these stupid new, one right after the other, reality shows. We are encouraging all this immature, inappropriate behavior. But anyway. Okay, so that's my big problem with the hoarding shows, is that they encourage it too. I mean, to a degree, they encourage it too. The show that Matt Paxton is on, his behavior is very, very unprofessional. And when he makes people feel worse about themselves, I think it's time for him to be removed from public. That's my personal opinion. Sorry if I offend anybody, but I just think it's time for people to treat other people respectfully and to understand that just because they live this way doesn't mean they choose to live this way. It really irks me when people say, I don't understand why this person chooses to live in squalor. Well, they don't choose it. Obviously something is not right in their head, not right in their, you know, something is not right. Something is just not right, and they're not coping. It's one form that, you know, that a lack of peace or whatever can take. You could be a hoarder. You could be a drug addict. You could be this or that or the other. And people judge hoarders terribly and impose these intents on them that they don't necessarily have. They don't want to live like that. I've never seen anybody who said they, well, I've seen one lady who said she wanted to live that way, and I don't believe her. I don't believe she really did. But I do believe that she was put on the spot, and to be humiliated, to have your secret brought out, and on public TV, and I get that they agreed to do that, but you stick a camera in their face, and then you scold them, and you humiliate them, and make this really big deal out of it. And on top of that, you encourage their family to yell at them, and to make these bold ultimatums, like, if you don't clean this up, I'm not going to be your family anymore. I'm never going to speak to you again. I think there should be more accountability. I just think there should be more accountability in the shows, and that the people who are clearly in need of help get the help without getting the abuse. That's my take on hoarding. And yeah, hoarding is something that happens. It's not something we want to happen. I never wanted to be a hoarder. I never wanted to live in squalor. I hated it. I couldn't cope with it. I'm speaking now as a person who has that problem of hoarding. You know, like I said, I've got people who come and clean now, so if you came into my home, you would not know I was a hoarder, but if you left me to my own devices and left me alone, you would see over time that, yeah, I was, because I wasn't getting things out, and I wasn't getting things sorted, and I wasn't paying attention to my environment, and so it fell into disarray, terrible disarray. But that doesn't mean that I need to be abused, that I deserve to be treated badly, and to be treated hatefully.